back, everybody. Welcome back to MUFC vs. Everybody. I am your host, Sean, and I'm super thankful that you guys are stopping by. Today, we're jumping on to part two of my series. We're looking at some of the managers that United has been heavily linked with in recent months. Obviously, the last video, which was part one in the series, was we took a good look at Ten Hag. His first season at United, what he did at Ajax, how season's going now, a lot of the chaos he's been dealing with, and we kind of rated him on some criteria that I kind of came up with in terms of factors that I think every manager should be measured against. And then after that, we did talk a lot about Graham Potter as well, and we kind of rated him on the same criteria. Talked about his time at Brighton, talked about his time at Ostersund's and Chelsea, and some of the unique things that he brings to the table as a manager. Today, we're jumping on to part two. It'll be a shorter video than the first one because we're just doing one manager at a time now. Yesterday was a twofer. But today we're going to be talking about current Brighton manager, Roberto De Zerbi. He has been one who's been heavily linked with us. I know a lot of people like De Zerbi. He's been linked to a lot of big clubs. So we're going to dive in a little bit today. Before we do get started, please don't forget to hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you are new, and don't forget to leave a comment, with your thoughts. Who would you like to see take over United? Do you think Ten Hag should be given more time? What do you think of De Zerbi, Potter, Ten Hag? Let me know. But let's get stuck in. So obviously De Zerbi is Brighton's current manager. He took over for Graham Potter last fall in September because Graham Potter left a few matches into the season. De Zerbi is known for attacking possession football, building out from the back, which starts with his keeper, high press, and then we saw a little bit. He had this fun tactic of kind of slowing things down in defense when building out from the back, inviting the opposition to press, and then kind of playing through or over the press with good passing, which was unique. I think a lot of people liked what they saw there. So when it comes to De Zerbi pre-Brighton, a lot of people really only talk about his time at Sassuolo. And they neglect to mention that he was actually with Shakhtar Donetsk before Brighton. He joined Brighton from Shakhtar Donetsk. He managed there for like a season. He did win the Ukrainian Super Cup, but he left in July 2022 when Russia invaded the Ukraine. So he left to kind of get out of that situation. So before that, though, at Sassuolo, the general opinion of De Zerbi was very similar to what we saw the general opinion was during his first season at Brighton. Everybody loved the football that Sassuolo played, just like Brighton. Everybody praised for the work he did, overachieving with the limited budget, same as Brighton. So we saw a lot of big hype. A lot of people liked what they saw. I would, however, call out his win percentage as a manager. It's something I've called out in months ago when people were talking about De Zerbi. His win percentage as a manager has never been great. People will say, well, look at Shakhtar, but when he had a 66% win percentage at Shakhtar, but that was literally 30 games managed. The sample size is way too small to really call out that as an example, because his win percentage, everyone else has not been great. He did have a very impressive first season at Brighton. He took over in September after Potter joined Chelsea. And his first match in charge was actually a 3-3 draw against Liverpool, which, not a bad way to start life at Brighton, right? His first win did come a month later, so it took him a month to actually pick up a win. And they beat, actually, ironically enough, they beat Graham Potter's Chelsea side 4-1, and they smashed them. Ouch, right? And then last season, obviously, he guided Brighton to 6th in the league. So remember, Potter had gotten Brighton to 9th place, which at the time was their best finish. De Zerbi came in and smashed that and got them to 6th in his first season, which also saw them qualify for Europe. He got them to an FA Cup semifinal last season. They did lose to United but they did push us to pens last season, and that we were having a decent season then. So he guided Brighton to qualification for Europe for the first time in the club's history. Thanks to that, I think the clincher was that 1-1 draw against Man City in the league last May. Which, again, impressive. Drawing against Liverpool's first match, drawing against City to clinch Europe, 6th place. That's not bad. This season, though, Brighton they've just fell off a cliff, like severely. And to be fair, they did sell a few of their big players. So Moises Caicedo and McAllister both were sold, and they were linchpins in De Zerbi's midfield. Um, and so Brighton are a selling club. We know that they have really good scouts, but they also they flip those players. It's like a Dortmund kind of a situation. But that doesn't help managers. It kind of cuts the legs out from De Zerbi a bit. That doesn't explain away Brighton's horrendous form. But again, people who say Ten Hag can't use injuries as an excuse can't also give De Zerbi a pass just because two of his players were sold. Like, two players is gone. You can't have one rule for one person and one rule for another. So De Zerbi needs to figure out a way to do that. Since January this season, Brighton only have a 30% win rate. They're currently in 12th. They haven't actually won in the league since March, and they've only scored one goal in their last 5 matches. It's not a good season. Brighton won't reach their total points from last year, and even if they win each match, they'll still fall short of that total by like 6 points. So they have just dipped off a cliff. Their goal differential has dropped a lot as well. So they ended last year with a GD of plus 19. Right now they're at -5. And like I said, they've only scored one goal in their last 5 matches. They could very well end the season in negative goal difference, which I shouldn't be sneering at as a United fan because we're finally in the positives, but it's not good. It's a huge change. So obviously they've got some injuries, and De Zerbi's played a lot of youngsters as the season is starting to wind down. But there's starting to be a worry among the fan base that they've kind of written off the season, especially after they kind of crashed out of Europe. He doesn't help with his comments after their recent 3-0 loss to Bournemouth. He said that without any hope of European qualification, it's difficult to find motivation. It's not a good look. Not a good look to basically say, well, we don't have anything, we can't qualify for Europe, so we're kind of just giving up a little bit. He made 7 changes to the team, though, heading into that match, trying to freshen things up, trying to make changes, but it wasn't enough. And so that's, again, you wonder if he's good enough to get results when it matters, or if he can motivate players to play, to dig deep, to intrinsically push themselves to play, even when their big goal is out of reach, even when qualifying for Europe is out of reach. Can you still get them to play? That's a difficult job for a manager. I've talked about it before. You can't force players to do anything. They're human beings. You can't force them to find the motivation. Yes, it could be great as a leader, as a manager, if you can, but you just can't sometimes. Every player is different. Every personality is different. Every managerial style is different. And so you're not going to be able to affect every player the same way. So looking at our criteria for Roberto De Zerbi, where does he score? Obviously, we talked our criteria are tactics and match impact, man management and egos, big club pressure and personality, crisis management, and then their qualifications. Like, what have they done to qualify for, again, we're doing this through the lens of a United job. So what qualifies them for a club like United, basically? So regarding tactics and match impact, I did give De Zerbi a 6 out of 10. His tactics at the last few clubs he's been at have been highly praised. Very good style, very good, interesting, kind of inviting the press, high press, attacking minded possession. Like, they've been praised. He works really well with small budgets, and he does tend to get the most out of his players. However, he gets docked points because he hasn't been able to motivate Brighton this season to perform, especially after dropping out of Europe. That's a big strike against him right now. And he hasn't his subs and his decisions. And like I said, he makes 7 changes in his last match that didn't work. And so that is a strike. I give him a 6 because of what he did first season and what he's done before. But he's struggling this season. Man management, egos. Hard to give him a score on this one because we haven't really yet seen him work with any high-profile players or big egos. I gave him a 5, cop out, simply because we've seen that he can work as Brighton kind of go through a lot of players and sell a lot of players. He's shown that he can work with what he has. He can get the most out of some of these players that are a little less, like, high profile, and he does work with youth. So I give him that as well. But again, we've yet to see what he can do at a big club with big profiles, big egos. That's a big jump. And so it's jury's still out in that regard for De Zerbi. Big club pressure and personality. I give him a 4 out of 10. I have doubts over De Zerbi's ability to manage a big club just because we haven't seen him do it. We haven't seen him. I mean, the pressure at Brighton is nowhere near United, and they've already kind of, like, if they couldn't handle the pressure at Brighton of not qualifying for Europe, what is he going to do at United when that is like the minimum expectation from day one? Brighton, he got them there. Yeah, I give him credit, but at the same time, the pressure to do that is nothing. I have doubts over his ability to manage a big club. I wouldn't want United to be his first big club either. I don't want to be that guinea pig for him. I don't want to be the one to test that out for him. I'd rather see how he does at a bigger club than Brighton than be the one he does that to. His personality, he does remind me a bit of Diego Simeone. He has a bit of a fiery personality. He's a bit energetic. He's got that passion. He's very emotive. And we did see him get a red card, I believe, from the touchline. So that can be good or bad, depending. You want your manager to show some passion. You don't want him to just sit there like a sphinx, just emotionless. But there's also that fine line where you don't want him to constantly be getting in trouble. Sometimes people get away with it, like Arteta gets away with it. He is all over the place. He's basically on the pitch during these matches, but he never gets in trouble. So it could be good or bad, but again, kind of like big egos, we've yet to see him manage this big club, and I don't want us to be the first one. Number 4, crisis management. Got to give him a 3 out of 10 for this one. He has not been able to pull Brighton out of this slump, no matter what he's trying. He lost a few key players, I get that, and he hasn't really shown that he can recover from that. He does get a bit of grace because Brighton are a selling club, and it's really difficult to do that. But we've seen other selling clubs excel and do well, even when they've lost players to injuries, even when they've lost players to transfers. You have to be able to navigate that, and that is a big test. It's not necessarily like says you're a bad manager, but it's another box that you can tick that is a positive for you. If you can show that you can navigate your way through that, if you've shown that you can manage your way out of that situation, that's only positive, and it puts you in an upper echelon in terms of managers. That he hasn't really shown that he can do that. If Brighton can hold on to some players and they can bring in some quality players, I think we'll see something different, but you have to be able to manage your way around that. And so kind of like Ten Hag, he does get a tick in the negative for that one. We'll look at qualifications last, number 5. Some people might disagree, but I gave him a 2 out of 10. He hasn't won anything major besides the Ukrainian Super Cup. He literally hasn't won anything, really. He's been linked with several big clubs, though, including United, Liverpool, Man City, and Barcelona. So these clubs see something in him. But I'm going to try to see real quick. I know I looked it up. I think I didn't write it down. What De Zerbi has won besides the Ukrainian Super Cup. Yeah, he didn't win anything with Sassuolo. He didn't really do anything. So he has no qualifications other than I think that he's kind of like, at least last year, I know a lot of people online have called him like the hipster choice. He just hasn't done it. So the qualifications just aren't there other than, he had some good tactics and he can work with a small budget. But the small budget thing doesn't really matter at United. Yeah, we're skint more often than not, but the level of player that we need to be looking at is going to be a lot higher than he's used to looking at. And so I think that it does go against him in that regard. But who knows? I mean, I'm sure there are Brighton fans who might disagree. I'm sure there are other fans who might disagree, but that's why we're here. So that's what I think of Roberto De Zerbi. I wouldn't choose him if Ten Hag were sacked this second and you told me right now if I had to pick De Zerbi or not, my answer I would go with no, just because, like I said, he hasn't won anything. He's never managed a big club. He's never worked with big players, and he hasn't shown me that he has that X factor to get out of these tricky situations and manage crises and slumps. Brighton, have severely regressed to the mean this season. And yeah, maybe he overachieved. Maybe last season was kind of a new manager bounce. It is what it is. But he's got to be able to maintain success breeds expectation, and he hasn't met those expectations. So Roberto De Zerbi is a no, but let me know what you think in the comments. That's going to do it for part 2 on Roberto De Zerbi. Tomorrow we're going to take a look at another manager. So be sure to stop back and take a look and let me know what you think. Once again, thanks for stopping by MUFC versus everybody. Please don't forget to hit the like button. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you're new and you want some more of these videos and you want to get involved. Like I said, the more people we get subscribing and the more people we get engaging, the more I can start to give back as the channel grows a bit. So let me know what you think, and I will see you in the next one, guys. Thanks.